Hey guys, I'm here to do my birth video. I've already had my son and he was born on October 15th, 2016 at 10:10 a.m. and he was 7 pounds, 7 ounces and 18.5 inches long. I did have gestational diabetes during my pregnancy. My induction was set for October 14th at 6 a.m. I called the hospital. They said they were backed up, they didn't have any beds available, and that it was most likely going to be later that day or possibly on Saturday. We were just at home on the couch and I went to the bathroom and then I came back and I noticed my underwear was like moist. I changed my underwear 3 times and every time it would just be like moist underwear. And I was like, I just peed. I don't know why my underwear is moist. It didn't make sense. My husband, my mom, and my mother-in-law were like, well, maybe you should get checked out. Maybe your water is leaking and you should find out if that's the case. And so we went to the hospital. It wasn't my water. Because I did have the gestational diabetes, the doctor that was there chose to keep me. I pretty much was number 5 in line to get induced and I skipped to number 1 because I was a high-risk pregnancy and I had the gestational diabetes. Because it was an induction and I wasn't having any regular contractions at that point, the doctor decided to put Cervidil, that's the tablet that they put into my cervix, and that they put that at 10:50 p.m. That was the first step in the induction, and I was supposed to have that for 12 hours, and then they were supposed to remove it, and depending on where I was, they were going to, go into the next medication. They put the tablet in, and I kind of immediately started feeling like just little cramps here and there. Nothing too crazy. At this point, we were still in that triage room. We were waiting on a delivery room to be moved into a delivery room. I think it was midnight. I think it was around 11:30 or midnight that a room finally became available and the contractions definitely picked up. I was breathing through them, but I kind of had to concentrate and breathe a little bit harder and try to focus on other things. At some point, it felt like I was in like a lot of pain and I was like, okay, check me. And I was at 1 centimeter for the longest time. The pain started getting a little bit more intense. And so I asked for some type of relief. Since I wasn't 4 centimeters, I couldn't have my epidural. It was just a medication through my IV. And it kind of like makes you sleepy. It helps you sleep through the contractions a little bit better. I mean, I wasn't completely knocked out or anything, but it helps you sleep. I was able to sleep. I am so glad that I got that. So I got that a total of 3 times, and the limit for that is 6 times. So you cannot have that medication more than 6 times. Every hour, I would ask for the medication, and then I was able to do a whole hour of sleeping. I ended up getting that medication 3 times, and honestly, I was so happy that was able to help me sleep. Because from then on, things just went so fast and so crazy. I was so happy that I ended up having those 3 good solid hours of sleep. When the 3rd round of the IV medication wore off, I was pretty uncomfortable at that point, and I was calling my nurse and asking her for some kind of relief. I was asking her to check me to see if I was finally at a 4 so I could have my epidural and just sleep the whole time until he was born. I think at this point it was like 3 or 4 in the morning and I was just 2 centimeters, and I was completely devastated when she said that I was 2 centimeters. I remember thinking, I don't know how much longer I can do this. And if I'm just at a 2 and it's been 3 hours, this is going to be a long, long labor. The nurse advised me to be wise. She said, remember, you only have 6 and you've already used 3. So you're halfway there to depleting your limit of 6. I remember feeling completely devastated, completely sad, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in excruciating pain for the longest time, and I can't have this medication because what if I'm in labor for hours and hours and hours, and then I run out of the medication and I'm still under 4 centimeters and I can't get the epidural. At that point, I disliked her. I just wanted to just grab her and shake her and say, I don't care, just give me the medication. But at that point, the contractions were pretty intense. She just said, breathe through them and have your husband apply pressure to your lower back. We were breathing through them. He was massaging my back, and then out of nowhere, the contractions just got intense. Every minute and a half, I would have a contraction. I guess my body was just in so much pain that I was just shaking. I couldn't control my shaking. I was just like, kind of like when you're cold, kind of like the shivers, but just shaking really, really bad. Where I kind of, I know this is gonna sound weird, but when you're gonna poop and you have that urge to push and your body just pushes it, like your body just pushes the poop kind of thing, that's the kind of urge that I had. I immediately had my husband call the nurse. I said, don't push the call button for the nurse. Go outside, go to the front main office and get the nurse. Like, I feel like I need to push. At this point, hadn't been checked and it had been several hours. She checked me and she said, you're at a 7. And I literally was like, what? That's insane. As soon as I heard that 7, I was like, oh my gosh, epidural, get me the epidural now. So she got on her phone and she dialed the anesthesiologist. I would close my eyes with each contraction, breathe. My husband was on my back the whole time. I felt the urge to push again. And again, I told my husband, go get the nurse. I feel like I need to push. So she came in. It was the same nurse. Not my nurse, but the nurse that had previously checked me and told me I was at a 7. As soon as she tried to, go in to check me, my water broke. It was just like, it felt like I had just peed on myself. Like a bucket of pee just went everywhere. And she said, you're 9 centimeters. Right when my water broke and she told me I was at a 9, there was a knock at the door and the anesthesiologist was right there with her table all set up with all the tools and stuff. And she just stood there and the nurse just kept apologizing and saying she was sorry. She said, I'm sorry, Mama, I'm sorry. But little did I know that things would go from 0 to 100 real quick. I just kept getting that urge to push. The nurse immediately got on her phone and she called the doctor. And then so when they told me, like, we're sorry, you can't have your epidural, it's too late, I was just terrified. I knew I had the gestational diabetes, and they had said that, moms with gestational diabetes have bigger babies. And so I was terrified at the fact that I could have like a really, really bad tear. I felt like that was me, but that wasn't me. I don't know, that was just so weird. Doctor came, rushed in, and I had my legs put up on those little like things where you put your legs up on the stirrups, and the next thing you know, they're like, okay, like, push, you're ready to push. I didn't push much at all. I didn't feel that ring of fire that everybody talks about. It was definitely, it was more of like intense pressure. It was like a lot of pressure. And I think the hardest part was just his head. And once his head was out, the shoulders were a little bit tough too, but it wasn't that bad. And then once his shoulders were out, he just completely came out. And he was born. So I went from 2 centimeters to 7 centimeters to 9, and then I pushed him out. There were no complications related to the diabetes. He's just perfect. He was just perfect. It definitely makes all those years of trying and medications and procedures worth it. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better baby or a better birth. Having a natural birth, I think, was really, really amazing. Here is my perfect little man. Good morning. Good morning. That is my birth story. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. My little man here is getting hungry, and so I have to feed him. All right, thanks for watching. See you guys later. Bye, guys.